All right, we ready to go?
We have verified a quorum.
It's 9:59.
Oh, so I guess we'll wait 1 minute. It's not quite 10 o'clock yet.
Okay.
Oh. Mark Gold.
Wales.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, whenever you are ready. Walter's at that.
All right, welcome everybody. I'll read the notes at the beginning of the meeting and we'll get started. This meeting is be held virtually as allowed by House Bill 58, an act making appropriations of the fiscal year 2023, which among other things extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Participants will be muted upon entrance in the Zoom meeting. Participants wishing to speak should click the participants icon in the lower toolbar and click raise hand in the dialog box to notify the chair. Telephone participants should press *9 to indicate they wish to speak and *6 mute your phone, and that's only for the call-in option. This meeting is being recorded for purpose of creating minutes. Please raise your hand now to notify the chair if you are also recording this meeting. I see none. Please raise your hand and wait for me to call on you as chair. All right, next slide.
Start.
All right,
Doug
Dan, you want to read the roll?
Steve Woelfel.
Yes, representing Secretary and CEO of MassDOT, Monica Tibbetts-Nutt.
Paula Simmons.
Good morning, Paula Simmons, District 2, representing MassDOT Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Walter Gunn.
Present, representing Pioneer Valley Planning Commission.
Doug Slaughter.
Present, representing PVTA Advisory Board.
Mayor Garcia.
Good morning, here, City of Holyoke.
Morning, Mayor. Mayor View.
Good morning, Chloe Soto, Communications Director, representing Mayor View.
Mayor McCabe.
Good morning, Mike McCabe, City of Westfield.
Mayor Chiara.
Morning, Jean Louise Shara, City of Northampton.
Mark Gold.
Mark Gold's here, representing Subregion 4.
Roger Fuller.
Here, Town of Chesterfield.
Rick Sullivan.
Here.
Okay, got it, Rick. Okay, Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, welcome again. As I said earlier, we'll move on to agenda item 2, which is approval of the minutes from April 23rd, 2024. Can I get a motion and a second to approve, please?
Sure, I'll make a motion to move those minutes of April 23rd. Walter Gunn.
Rick Sullivan, second.
All right, any changes or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, Dana, you want to read the roll, please?
Steve Woelfel.
Yes.
Paula Simmons.
Yes,
Walter Gunn.
Yes.
Doug Slaughter.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia. Mayor McCabe.
Yes.
Mayor Chiara.
Yes.
Mark Gold.
Yes.
Roger Fuller.
Yes.
Rick Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 3. Any members of the public would like to address the MPO today? All right, seeing none, we'll move to agenda item 4, which is federal fiscal year 2024 TIP amendment. Andy, take it away.
Thank you. Okay, so at our last meeting, the MPO released this amendment for the required 21-day public review. This is not this project is not using our discretionary dollars. This is a statewide line item, and it was due to some cost increases related to a bridge project in Cummington. The project went up a little over $1 million, which triggered the requirement for an amendment. Again, this was released for the 21-day public review period. We have not received any comments related to this project. So if there are no questions, we recommend, or we would like the MPO to recommend a motion to endorse this amendment.
All right, can I get a motion second to endorse this amendment?
So moved.
Second, Walter.
Any questions for Andy? All right, seeing none, Danny, you want to read the roll, please?
Steve Wolfle,
Yes.
Paul Simmons,
Yes.
Walter Gunn,
Yes.
Doug Slaughter,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor McCabe,
Yes.
Mayor Shara,
Yes.
Mark Gold,
yes,
Roger Fuller,
Yes.
Rick Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andy. We'll now move on to agenda item 5, which is federal fiscal year 2025 UPWP approval. Gary, I believe this is you, correct?
Yes, it is. Thank you. So what you're seeing now is the final version of the funding for all of the tasks and all of the proposed funding categories that comprise the federal fiscal year 2025 Unified Planning Work Program. We did have the complete draft document out for 21-day public review and comment. The difference between this table and what you've seen in the past at this meeting is we're acknowledging the receipt of a Safer Streets and Roads for All grant and showing the 2 funding categories that will comprise that grant. We anticipate getting approval to start that later this calendar year, and that would likely encompass the entire 2025 UPWP and beyond. Next slide, please. We did receive a few comments. The first was a typo that had gone into the document that our staff picked up on. The remainder came from Mass DOT staff. Probably the most critical ones were a clarification of the units that we use to determine staff time on the document, and that is done in weeks of time, so we clarified that. Adding additional clarity to our equity assessment, which is beginning on page 55 of the document. So though we have modified that, added some additional clarity, moved some tables around to put them closer to the text where they are discussed in the document. And then adding some additional information on non-English speaking households, trying to reference that a little bit more clearly in the document. And then we had a few other minor typographical areas. The very last one was the consideration of adding an update of an existing tool that was developed by our graphics and data section called the Ride Western Mass, which shows the proximity of transit service to locations such as employment and areas where you can obtain food. So this is something that we think makes a lot of sense, and we've added it into the document. Probably won't be a complete update, but at least an update so that we can keep the transit route information for our region as up to date as possible. So really, these are the only comments we've received. Everything's been included into the document, and we'd like to request that the MPO endorse this document at this time.
All right, can I get a motion second to endorse the UPWP, please?
So moved, Walter.
Second, Rick Sullivan.
All right, any questions for Gary?
Yes, sir.
Hey, go, Walter.
Been doing this too long. My memory's foggy. When does this go from a draft into something that's the final document? Or is this what we're voting on?
That's what you're voting on. So as of a successful vote, we will finalize the document, send final versions out to our Mass DOT and federal partners, and then we'll put that on our PVPC webpage later this week.
The effective date, Walter, is October 1.
Right, with federal. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, so we have a motion, a second. So Dana, can you read the roll, please?
Steve Wolfle,
Yes.
Paula Simmons,
Yes.
Walter Gunn,
Yes.
Doug Slaughter,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
You said it.
Mayor McCabe,
Yes.
Mayor Shiara,
Yes.
Mark Gold,
yes,
Roger Fuller,
yes,
Rick Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Gary. Thank you, everyone. We'll move to agenda item 6, which is federal fiscal year 25 to 29 tip approval. Take it away, Andy.
Thank you. Okay, so again, this is just the summary tables for what's being proposed to be spent over the next 5 fiscal years. Obviously, 25, we hope to be as close to possible as what's here, and then the out years we revisit on a yearly basis. So the first table is the transit table. You can see over the next 5 years, we're looking to spend just over $200 million. And we have it broken out by each federal fiscal year based on funding source. I'd like to call your attention to the second funding source, 5307 CR. Those are carbon reduction funds, and those were added after this document was released. So I wanted to bring that to your attention that that's a new funding source. PVTA got approval to buy full electric buses, so that meets the requirements to use the carbon reduction dollars there. Other than that, there's been some fine tuning, just with some of the numbers, you know, make sure we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed. But it's more or less the same as what was released. And then on the highway side, the bottom table, our total target funds obviously are the same, and our proposed expenditures for our discretionary dollars have not changed. On the statewide side, the dollars have changed slightly, just as MassDOT has been working their way through their own internal process. So we're actually seeing a slightly higher amount of money being spent in our region over the next 5 years. But again, that was only on statewide projects. And again, all that stuff has been included in the documents we've provided to you. But as far as the entire document goes, obviously, we focus on the funding and what projects we're spending that money on. The document is fairly significant. It's close to 200 pages. Most of the language in there is our required language, you know, based on federal law and state policies. And it changes slightly from year to year. So what you'll see here is a summary of comments provided to us by MassDOT. And those are just comments related to like I said, the language in the document for the most part, to ensure we have the latest language, or to ensure we have all the funding sources, because there are several new funding sources included in the BIL. And then also you'll see there's a couple comments, comment 2 and comment 3 addressing specific projects. Just to ensure we have those projects, because they may not be standard projects. The first project there, the S12088, is actually a rail project, and so that's a different funding source. And then the second project, or the 2 second projects of comment 3 are related to projects that fall in multiple regions. And we have to make sure those projects are reported as interregional. And then again, just some clarification on some of the language related to our performance measures. Again, we have addressed all these comments, and we'll ensure everything's fully up to date before the document's published. So with that, I'll answer any questions, and if there's no additional questions, or once we get through those, we'll be looking for a recommendation to endorse this document. Once endorsed, it will be compiled with the other tips throughout the state, and then submitted to MassDOT, who will ultimately get approval from Federal Highway and Federal Transit, and then go into effect on October 1st.
All right, can I get a motion second to endorse the draft federal fiscal year 25 to 29 tip as detailed here by Andy?
So moved. Welcome.
Rick Sullivan, second.
Any questions for Andy? All right, seeing none. Danny, you want to read the roll?
Steve Wolfle,
Yes.
Paula Simmons,
yes,
Walter Gunn,
Yes.
Doug Slaughter,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia,
yes,
Mayor McCabe,
Yes.
Mayor Shiara,
Yes.
Mark Gold,
yes,
Roger Fuller,
Yes.
Rick Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, Andy, thank you, everyone. We'll now move on to agenda item 7, which is federal fiscal year 24 tip amendment. Andy, to you again.
Okay, so we just approved the new tip, which goes into effect October 1st. Before that, you had just approved an amendment to the 24 tip related to a bridge in Cummington. Now, we're getting near obviously the end of the federal fiscal year. We're trying to ensure that we're getting all our projects advertised to ensure we're able to spend the money committed to those projects. So we're finally at the point with 2 of our local projects, regional discretionary funded projects that are getting to the end of the design. We've finally been able to nail down the most recent cost updates on these projects. And as you can see, they've both experienced significant cost increases. The 2 projects we're talking about here are the Wales reconstruction of Munson Road project, which has been programmed in the tip for just under $5.5 million. And the current cost of that project is $15.5 million. So we've experienced just over a $10 million cost increase with that project. The second project is the X project in Springfield, which has been on the tip for just under $13 million and now has a cost of just over $26 million. Before those costs were increased, or before we include these cost increases, we have been programmed to the penny. So we've been working with MassDOT to try to find a solution for how to keep all 3 of our projects, because there's an additional project in Worthington that we amended a couple months ago as well. How do we ensure we can get these out the door? Fortunately for us, MassDOT was able to identify some funding sources to apply specifically to the Springfield X project. So under this amendment, the proposal is to reduce the amount of STBG, so that's our regional discretionary dollars, to accommodate the cost increase for the Wales project. And then MassDOT has found several statewide funding categories to apply to the X project to ensure that project is fully funded as well. So at the top is a write-up on explaining what the amendment is. So reduce section 1A STBG funds from 11.466 million down to the 1.352 million. And then we're adding additional funding sources. You can see in section 2A, there'd be $2.859 million in statewide safety. The VUS implies that it's for vulnerable users, as well as adding funds just over $1 million in statewide safety dollars, and then adding $18.5 million in statewide STBG funds. The other thing I'll point out with our regional discretionary dollars, the MPO is committing $1 million of HSIP money and $500,000 of TAP, which is alternative funding, project funding dollars as well. So by doing this, we are able to keep our regional discretionary dollars in fiscal constraint and ensure that all these projects go out the door. And again, it's all because MassDOT was able to find these other funding sources to apply to this project. So the highlights in yellow are the additional funding categories being added. And on this page here specifically, you'll see there's the 2 line items for the X, and then right below those are 2 line items for the Worthington project. Again, so MassDOT gave us $3 million for the Worthington project in February. So with that, I'll answer any questions, but ultimately we need to get a recommendation to release this proposed amendment for the required 21-day public review period.
All right. Anyone want to make a motion to send this out for public review, then open up to questions?
So moved.
Second, Rick Sullivan.
Any questions for Andy? Joshua, and actually, Mayor McCabe and then Joshua, sorry. Go ahead, Mayor.
So Andy, is this just a question of increased cost because it takes so long to get through the process, or was there something else adversely affecting increased cost? One of the things that, we consistently see is, when we're bidding our projects locally, obviously, is that, we have basically a 3-month window before costs escalate out the door. So I just kind of wanted to get a feel for what that was about.
Yeah, so, and I forgot to mention this at the top of the current page here, you'll see I had a little description in there. So for the Wales project, there was some additional work here. They needed to enlarge 2 culverts to larger diameters to meet the stream bank fill width guidelines. So that wasn't included in the original cost. And then on the Springfield project, there was additional work identified that needed to be done, but also, to your point, unit cost prices have absolutely increased. Since this project was programmed. So for these, it was a little of both. There was additional work that was required, some hazmat issues, but also the price for the project based on materials and everything has absolutely gone up. So I think there's 2 issues going on with these projects. Did I answer that okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, again, I'm going to circle back just a second to 183. How are 2 culverts just kind of, I know that we have got all kinds of engineers working on these projects. How does 2 culverts how do they get left off? Because it almost, it just feels weird. It's like, whoops.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if MassDOT wants to step in or if we circle back and I do not know the answer to that question.
No worries, I'm good.
Does the district have any feedback on the mayor's question?
Hi, Steve. Yeah, this is Paula Simmons, MassDOT District 2. One thing that I do know about those 2 culverts is those words right there, stream bank fill width guidelines. That's what really blew these 2 up. I don't have the explanation as to why it wasn't caught before. I'm not that, in touch with the environmental part of it, but I do know that that was the reason why, was because we had to meet DEP standards for those 2 culverts. And then, of course, you can imagine all the associated costs that go with increasing any size culvert. It just goes on. And also we had hazmat items have been absolutely creating, cost increases on our projects. And that affected both Wales and Springfield, along with, as Andy mentioned, the unit cost price increase, if that helps a little bit.
So Paula, could you look into it a little bit more with the culverts and get back to the mayor?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yep.
Does that work, Mayor?
Yeah, Paul, no worries. Thank you very much. I appreciate the explanation. It's just, just concerning. I'll just leave it at that.
I agree.
Joshua, do you still have your hand up or you still want to talk?
I think I'm okay. I was just going to ask the same questions as Mayor McCabe, definitely a significant increase, particularly on the Springfield project, more than doubling, and, just wondering, just about it not being caught previously, and then, all of that. So thank you, Mayor.
All right, thanks, Josh.
Go
ahead, Paula.
I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting. I was just gonna add one more thing, especially for Springfield. We got extremely high utility agreements that recently came in. Unfortunately, they are supposed to come in at the 75%, but they did not. And they were much, much higher than recently anticipated. So that was a massive increase on that Springfield project as well.
Could you speak to kind of like what percentage of the increase was due to utility agreements coming in over estimated versus like the hazmat and the unit prices?
Yeah, I don't have, off the top of my head, I don't know the percentages, but that would be something that we could easily get to you, Joshua.
Sounds good. Thank you, Paula.
Do you want that for both the hazmat and the utilities, correct?
I don't think it could hurt. I think it could benefit the MPO board to understand, why and to what degree these things are increasing the costs across projects.
Sure. No problem.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to point out this
Okay.
probably under 21-day review. Lots of comments are gonna filter out. So anybody keeps thinking about what's happened here, I would certainly recommend to make some comments.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I think with that, Dana, please read the roll.
Steve Wolfle,
Yes.
Paula Simmons,
Yes.
Walter Gunn,
Yes.
Doug Slaughter,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor McCabe,
Yes.
Mayor Chiara,
Yes.
Mark Gold,
yes,
Roger Fuller,
yes,
Rick Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Andy. We'll move on to agenda 8, which is updates from Master. So why don't we have D2 go first?
Hey, good morning. This is Daryl, District 2. So we'll start with 2024 projects. First, we have the project 608163 that was discussed there, the Wales reconstruction and improvements on Munson Road from Munson Town Line to Reed Hill Road. The design is at 100%. 100%, including right-of-way plan revisions, were completed on May 17th. And the next milestone, PS&E, is due on June 22nd. So we're awaiting that. Next, we have project 608717. This is Springfield, the reconstruction of Sumner Ave at Dickinson Street, the X project at Belmont Ave. Design is at PS&E. Revised right-of-way plans were received in March, late March. Right-of-way plans were approved on April 9th. The PS&E submission was received on April 22nd, and review comments were completed on May 6th. The revised PS&E submission was requested by the PM by the end of the month, so we're expecting that on the 31st. Or by the 31st. Next, we have in it's a non-target project, but this is 608846 Munson Bridge replacement, Old Wales Road over Conant Brook. The design was advertised on April 27th, and the bid openings are expected on June 18th. So we're looking forward to those. Next, we have project 613218. This is the Amherst Hadley resurfacing related work on Route 116. This was advertised in mid-March. Bids were opened on April 17th with a low bid of $4.6 million from Warner Brothers. And the next milestone, the NTP was issued this month on the 3rd, May 3rd. Next, we have in FY25 project 608881. This is Long Meadow Springfield resurfacing and intersection improvements on Long Meadow Street. This is Route 5. And Converse Street design is at 100%. Review comments were completed, and the PS&E is due on July 3rd. Next, we have project 609065. This is Holyoke resurfacing related work on Cabot Street and Race Street, the Center City connection. Design is at 75%. Comments were completed. Revised design justification review comments were completed on May 14th. The 100% was due on the 9th, and we're awaiting an update on that project. Next, we have project 609286. This is Northampton Downtown Complete Streets Corridor and intersection improvements on Main Street. The design is at 75%, was received on March 14th. Review comments were completed on April 12th. And responses were completed on May 17th. And we're awaiting an updated schedule and 100% submission on that. And that's all I have for now.
Anyone have any questions for Daryl? Mayor McCabe?
Not a question, just a comment. Daryl, I want to thank you and Ben for coming out and visiting with us in the city of Westfield and providing us with a guide for for MassDOT. It's certainly helpful. I just want to say thanks.
Sure, Mary, you're welcome. Hopefully it helps. Thank you.
All right, District 1, Pete, you here?
Yeah, good morning. Peter Frieri from District 1. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, looking at the current federal fiscal year, MassDOT has 2 projects currently scheduled for advertisement. The first is the reconstruction of Route 143 in Worthington. A revised final design was submitted on May 9th. The right-of-way certificate has been issued for that project, and environmental permitting is being finalized. So that is getting very close to advertisement. The second is the bridge preservation in Cummington on 3 bridges for the western half of Route 9 in Cummington. That was alluded to earlier in the amendment. We're currently awaiting 100% design on that project. And in 2025, which starts on October 1st, there are 2 bridge replacement projects in the district. One of them is in Huntington for Route 112 over Pond Brook. That currently is at 25% design, and we're currently awaiting scheduling of a 25% hearing on that project. And the second is a bridge replacement in Russell, Blandford Stage Road over Stage Brook. Currently, we're awaiting 100% design on that project from CNC Consulting Engineers. And then 2 other projects that we're tracking that are municipal is the reconstruction of Mountain Street in Williamsburg, which is currently programmed in 26. We're anticipating a formal 75% design this fall. And also the reconstruction of North Road and Damon Pond Road in Chesterfield, which is programmed in 2027. We're anticipating a 100% design in June of this year. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions, Pete? All right, thanks, Pete. All right,
Sure.
we'll now move on to agenda 9, which is updates from PVTA. Sandra, you got anything?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay. PVTA's advisory board approved the fiscal year 25 budget at their meeting last Wednesday. The budget is based on the governor's fiscal year 25 budget, which level funds the regional transit authorities. I want to point out that this budget does not include any cost associated with the negotiations currently going on with the union for a collective bargaining agreement. However, since the state budget is in conference committee, we are hopeful the state final budget for the RTAs is higher and can absorb those costs. On the ridership end, the system-wide ridership for fixed route is up by 24% from last April, and the recovery rate is at 80%. Paratransit ridership increased by 15.2% for the month of April, and currently has a recovery rate of 71%. And lastly, PVTA and most of the regional transit authorities will be celebrating its 50th anniversary during fiscal year 25. We have planned events to take place throughout the year. But to kick it off, we are going to provide fare free during the month of June, July, and August. And that is to thank our passengers for their continued loyalty. And at the next meetings, I will let you know what other activities will be taking place. And that's it for me.
Anyone have any questions for Sandra? All right, thank you, Sandra. We will now move to agenda item 10, which is other business. What other business we have? We have our next meeting on June 25th, the usual time. Chris, we also have a public meeting on the CIP coming up, correct?
That's correct, Steve. I don't think the registration link is available yet, but I can share that with PVPC staff, so all the members here can have access to that link.
And I believe it's at 4 o'clock on the 24th, correct, Chris?
Yes, and I'll confirm that with Michelle and let MPO staff know as well.
All right, so make sure that to get that to staff so they can get it out to everyone. With that, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn, please? Thanks, Chris.
Rick Sullivan, second, Rick Sullivan.
All right, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 All right, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the heat now, and we'll see you in a month. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.